A couple of acknowledgments I'd like to make. This is our 8th annual University of Wyoming blockchain Stampede, and nothing in this space is 8 years old. So I'm just so pleased and proud that you're all here. I'd like to introduce our honorary chairman, who has been here since the very first one 8 years ago. And Caitlin, if you want to come up here just for a minute. And I'll let Caitlin tell a very short version of how this all started with Joe Lubin. And then I have a very distinct honor to introduce the president of the university. But let Caitlin make a couple of statements first.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Steve. Thank you for being here. I know the weather's not great. Usually this is the best time of year to be in Laramie because, and this is my hometown. So very, very glad to welcome you here. The leaves are just starting to turn and usually the weather is perfect, but we've got very unusual heavy rain for those on the internet. It's not normal for that to happen here. This is Bitcoin Day, so you'll see several of us in our Bitcoin orange, but I will give the history, which actually wasn't Bitcoin focused. This whole event was Joe Lubin's idea, and he started it. He funded made the first donation to start the first UwYO hackathon, and it turned into in the 8 ensuing years more than just a hackathon. It turned into the Stampede with multiple events that are happening around the same time. The select committee is meeting over in co-library at the same time as this morning, and that has always coincided. So every year that we've had this event, the select committee has also held a legislative event. So those of you who are interested in bringing your ideas to the legislative arena have the ability to go talk to the very legislators who originate legislation in Wyoming. We're up to 50-some laws. I don't even know how to count. Okay, great. That's we're not gatekeepers. This is a completely voluntary event and voluntary group of people. There was at one point an informal Wyoming blockchain coalition, and we literally passed the hat to go buy hors d'oeuvres at Sam's Club that we microwaved in our hotel rooms to be able to help educate legislators so that they actually had a little bit of food when they came to the first event. And there are two things that I can recount about why this whole thing got started in Wyoming with that very first cocktail event, right? We didn't have cocktails. We had, soda and pigs in a blanket from Sam's Club, but that's because it was all voluntary and we didn't have sponsors at that point. But there are two stories that I'll share why this ended up going in Wyoming. Number one is the then one of the most powerful legislators in the Wyoming House of Representatives was the chairman of the Minerals Committee, which is the most powerful committee. It happens to be, we're in a mining state, so that's what they call it. And he said that he noticed at that event that instead of Wyoming kids who leave, and I grew up here and left and then came back, he said, we're bringing people up from Denver and from the rest of the country. They're coming here. And that was really significant to him. And then to Senator Nethercott, who is, I think she's still on the blockchain committee. She said to me, this is so interesting because it's not the usual faces at a legislative event. And that event was interesting because we had teenagers from tiny Newcastle, Wyoming, who had their Bitcoin tied up at Coinbase when Coinbase had to leave Wyoming in 2015 because of the bad money transmitter law that we were trying to fix. And they drove down to try to lobby so that they could get their Bitcoin back out of Coinbase a few years later. And then we had a grandmother in Cheyenne who was mining Bitcoin in her garage, and her granddaughter drove her to the event. Happened to be a Latina. So just the demographic of that was the bookend range that I could see, at least in terms of birth year. It was quite a unusual gathering. And that sent an incredible message to the legislature that they were onto something new and unique. Unfortunately, the state has had some of what we did overtaken by the powers that be in New York. I was just talking with President Seidel about our lawsuits and how we've been now 3.5 years almost in that process, and how that has allowed the incumbents and the powerful financial institutions in New York, unfortunately, to catch up to a lot of what we were trying to do in the banking sector in Wyoming. But that said, we do know, and you'll hear from Colin Crossman at the Secretary of State's office, there are thousands of companies that have domiciled here. And that's a way for, and the only reason we know that is because you can keyword search yourself in the database of the Wyoming Secretary of State. You can keyword search Bitcoin, blockchain, crypto, the buzzwords, if you will. And I don't even know what the number is, but it's thousands of companies now, and everybody's paying their $50 to the state of Wyoming. And that ultimately, it really adds up. The Secretary of State's office sends about 30 million, which is a lot. 60. It's 60 now. Okay. Well, I know it's been growing a lot. So my numbers are outdated. 60 million a year, which is a huge amount of money for to fund into the school fund. So that is the evidence of success. And frankly, all of you are here as well. Those who are coming here to Laramie, those who are online, and the companies that have domiciled here. So thank you. This is a completely voluntary community, and we're going to keep growing, and we'll be back again and again. Thank you for your participation and support.
Thank you, Caitlin. It is my distinct honor to now introduce the president of the university. But let me take a minute beforehand. The Center for Blockchain and Digital Innovation actually aligns perfectly with the tenure of the president. We had proposed the center about 2 months, Mr. President, before you joined, and we needed your approval to sign off on it. So thank you for that. But I knew we were going to be successful here at the university very quickly because President Seidel, soon after he joined us, introduced his 4 pillars. And I'm sure you still talk about the 4 pillars quite a bit. And the 4 pillars really centered around digital literacy and, really where the university needed to go from a digital footprint. And all of us in this community, live that every day. And so with your retirement announced, I know you're not retiring, your change of role at the university. I want to just thank you because I don't think we would be as successful as we are without your leadership and you driving the university in a direction that, quite frankly, fits exactly into our wheelhouse. So I really want to thank you. And with that, I'd love to have you come up and just give a few remarks. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, Steve, and Caitlin as well. It's great to be here. The fact that it's raining out, I got to just go in for a second about that, because when I got here, it just seemed like it just never rained, ever. And somebody said to me, "Oh, it never rains in Laramie, it only snows." But here it is, proof. It can rain in Laramie. We had snowstorm in June, and we had a snowstorm in the first week of September when I got here, but we basically never had rain for about the first year. So anyway, we're like 6 years overdue for some good rain. So nice to welcome you here. And I think my main purpose here is to align basically with what Steve said about the university is all in on not only blockchain and digital assets, but also the whole digital world. And so in my background, among other things, I was once the director of the National Center for Supercomputing Applications. So it's the kind of stuff that I think about like literally every day and work hard to try to move the university and, to the extent that I can, other parts of the state in this direction. And so it's my pleasure to introduce you to Bitcoin Day, or to welcome you. But I want to say it's my 6th, actually, since I've been here. It's hard to imagine. It's my 6th as the president. And I still vividly remember my first one. When I came here, it was during COVID times. Everybody had masks. We were digitally, we were physically separated, not digitally. That's what kept us together, actually. It just when I saw this, the first meeting that I attended, which I guess must have been the third, if I'm doing my math right, that you had, it just sent a signal to me that I come from a digital world and I can be right at home here in Wyoming because there's so much strength here at the university, and we've invested significantly more. Now we have two Bitcoin centers. Where is Brad here? I don't see if Brad Rettler's here, but in any case, we have two Bitcoin centers. We have endowments. Well, Bitcoin. Yours is digital assets and innovation, but Brant is more focused on Bitcoin specifically. And then we have a new school of computing. I saw the logo up here. We have combined electrical engineering and computer science into a stronger unit. We have an incredibly flourishing School of Energy Resources. Holly Krutka is right here as the director of it. And of course, there's a big intersection between digital assets and the energy world and so on. So just a lot of things are moving in very strong directions here that support, I think, what it is that you're looking for here. So in fact, I've done nothing. I've not even looked at my notes. Let's see. Is there something I was actually supposed to say? um, well, let's just say this is a major priority for us. And if you're from the corporate world, I guess many of you are, we've also stepped up our game there. We have an Office of Industry and Strategic Partnerships established in the last few years under the Vice President for Research and Economic Development. We have a completely rebuilt technology transfer office in association with that. And we're looking very hard to build relationships with companies, both in terms of R&D, if that's of interest to you, or talent acquisition. And we have a lot of great students that are getting the training. I don't know, how many students do you have in your classes, Steve? 125 students in learning about digital assets. So we're very interested in supporting students to get to know some of you who might want some interns and so on. And they're well trained. And Wyoming students are special. I've learned this, and I've been around the world. I've worked at universities in Illinois, Louisiana, in Russia, in Germany, and nobody can compete with our students in terms of their determination. And there's a special quality we talk about here all the time in Wyoming, which is grit. And it's like the work ethic and also you get knocked down, you get right back up. That's the Wyoming way. So our students have both the talent and the drive to be the people that you would like to be working with. So just want to encourage you all to continue the connections here. And if I can do anything to help build them further, please let me know because I'm all in to support it. So thanks a lot.